All right, everyone, welcome back to the Power of Yes. And today we're going to continue where we left off in our last episode on boundaries and burnout. I wanted to come back to this because we got started in this portion of the conversation where we're talking about setting boundaries without guilt. And I didn't want to just kind of drop it there. I wanted to have this opportunity to really give you all some key things that I think will be helpful on this journey of setting boundaries. Now, listen, I didn't say that this was going to be a sprint. It's truly a marathon. It is truly a journey. And so we left off with this conversation about understanding that boundaries are essential for maintaining your well-being and productivity. And then we continued on this area of strategies to saying no. And so that's where I want to kind of go back to right now is start from there and take us on out to the end. So how do we say no assertively and confidently without feeling guilty? Because listen, saying no doesn't mean that you don't care, but again, that you are prioritizing your needs and responsibilities, which is okay to do. So I just want you to just kind of sit in that for a second. It is okay for you to take care of yourself. Self-care is important. So in order for us to be able to do this well, we've got to look at ways to practice saying no. Now, I will tell you that there is somebody in my life that I feel does this very well. One of my sisters, she does not have a problem with saying no. I think it maybe at one time in her life, she probably did. We've had this conversation before. And I told her, I said, man, you say no, like really well. Like she told me no about something one time. And I was like, I like how you said it. Like I might have to borrow that. I might have to use that in a way to say no, because I always feel some type of way. And I think part of the reasons why we could feel any way about saying no could be because of the way that we feel like we have to say no. Like we've got to be so forceful with our no. Or we feel like if we're not forceful with the no, that somehow people are just not going to get it. And we're going to have to be like, listen, people, I'm saying no. And so here's the thing. We can say no with respect. And one of the ways to do that is to offer an alternative solution for it. So if someone is asking you to do something and you don't have the capacity to do it, but you do know that there's somebody else who probably would be willing to do it and may have the capacity to do it, you can say, hey, I'm not able to do that. However, I think this person would truly enjoy doing that. Would you like for me to connect you to that person? And so this puts you in a space of still helping the person to get what they need without you having to be the person to commit to something that you know that you're not going to be able to fulfill. So when you think about how can you say no and practice it? I mean, get in front of the mirror and practice it over and over and over again so that it becomes natural. So you can actually sit in those feelings. And really what you're doing is you're training your brain to be able to make space for the things that you know are necessary for you to make space for, so that you can establish these boundaries in a way that you are going to feel good about them versus feeling all this negative feelings about it. So how can we communicate with respect and clarity? I have some thoughts around this. I think one of the key things is we've got to be clear about our needs. So you've got to be clear about your needs, and you've got to communicate them with kindness but firmness. Like when my sister told me no, she was not being mean. I just felt some type of way about it. Like, you're my sister. Why would you help me? But she was very kind and she was very firm. And he says, I'm not going to be able to do that. I don't want to disappoint you. I don't want to put you in a space where you're thinking I'm going to be able to show up in this way. I can't do that for you. And she also kind of set expectations early, like letting me know, hey, this is as much as I can do. And so I think for many of us, when we recognize that, hey, I'm not going to be able to do something, it is okay for you to go to people early in the process. Don't wait till you like halfway down the road and you're like, oh my God, I should have listened to myself in the beginning and not say yes. Don't wait till that happens. Say it early enough. Hey, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this without help, or I don't think I have the capacity to follow this all the way through to the end. And if you're okay with that, then let me just share with you what I can do to get things moving. I think having those open conversations about what you're able to do versus what people want you to do helps to balance those expectations and really put you in a place where you feel clear about what you're saying versus and what you're able to offer versus saying committing to the whole bag and child, you can't do it. So don't try. Don't put yourself in that place. All right, so how can we practice ways to protect our energy? That's the other side of this, is protecting our energy in all of this. And when you think about it, like we're in this space to do all the things that we need to do to protect ourselves and to protect our energy. And really part of that is giving yourself some me time. It is okay for you to have some me time. And it's okay for you to have time for yourself. Think about that. And listen, it's okay for you to make that time non-negotiable and put it as a part of your routine. I remember when I first really started making my self-care a priority, I actually set time on my calendar for the things that I wanted to do. So when I went to go get my nails done, I put my nail appointment as a calendar appointment. Yes. When I wanted to go do lunch with family or friends, I put it in my calendar because I wanted to be intentional about what I set time aside to do. And I made it non-negotiable. It's not a question mark. It is something I am dedicating time to do, and nothing else gets to block that on my schedule. And so when you are setting your time for self-care, you've got to use this as time to recharge, focus on your personal needs, or relax without distractions. Back in the day, there used to be this commercial, the Calgon commercial. Do y'all remember that? The Calgon commercial. And the lady would have like a really tough day. And then she'd go lay out in the tub and she'd be like, Calgon, take me away. That's what we're talking about here, having those moments. And she didn't look like she was feeling guilty about being in that Calgon moment. She actually looked like she was getting relief from being in that Calgon moment. So how can we all have those moments? Think about this. When was the last time you prioritized yourself without guilt? How did it affect your energy and your focus? So we just talked about the scheduling, the me time. Now let's talk about establishing boundaries for technology, or these technology boundaries. Really limiting your screen time, setting those off limits hours for you to be able to focus on other things. And how can you do this? By setting specific times for work, for emails, for social media, so that you can prevent the constant distraction. One of the things that my husband and I do, we don't watch a lot of TV during the week. We watch recorded TV. So most of the shows that we will watch on television, we watch them over the weekend. Some would say that's like a reward to ourselves, but the truth is because we recognize that at some point in time in our life that we spent more time in front of the television screen than in front of each other, building our own relationship with each other. And so we made a conscious effort to say, hey, I am not going to give the television time that I could give you. And so on the weekends, we may get together like in the afternoon on a Saturday and pick out what shows we're going to watch. And then we just kind of binge watch all the shows. Thank goodness for all the different binge watching apps that we have out there now that we can do that. But that's like our treat to ourselves versus it becoming a consumption of our time as we go throughout the week, that we have to sit down and watch a show on the particular day that it actually airs. No, that's what recorded television is for, so that we can actually have that quality time for ourselves. Now, I will say this, that life is busy. And so since I'm an entrepreneur, one of the things that I am learning is how to actually take that time to relax, because George and I are working together now. And so I may have gotten my screen time back, but I may not have gotten my balance in my personal time from my work time. So that's something that, just being transparent, that's something that I'm working on is, hey, yeah, we turned out the noise from the television, but how can we turn down the noise from work so that we can build this relationship as a couple as well? So continuing to do that. And then the next thing is delegating tasks when it's possible so that you can, avoid overburdening yourself with all the things. So you've got to recognize when you're overwhelmed and look for tasks that you can really deviate to others or delegate to others. Recently I spoke at a women's conference, and one of the ladies was talking about how she knows, like, she is not going to be the person to have to clean up behind everybody in the house all the time. So she's happy to delegate, to pay someone to come in to help her clean. And at one point in time, I did the same thing. Like, when I was traveling all the time, I was not home enough. And so I had to hire someone to come in to at least maintain things so that I wouldn't feel like I was losing my grip on a clean house. And so it's okay. You don't have to feel guilty about getting the help that you need. And listen, if that's not your superpower, because it ain't mine, if it's not, I know how I want things to be. I know where I want things to be most often, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to actually dedicate the time to it all the time. And so it's okay for you to get the help that you need to make sure that it gets done, because at the end of the day, making sure that it gets done is what matters the most. So delegating helps you to be able to focus on your highest priority and protect your mental energy. Now, listen, what current tasks are you currently handling that you could be delegating? Is it that laundry? Should you, send your laundry out, have someone come and do that for you? Is it, scheduling? For those of us who are CEOs, is it scheduling all of your appointments? Maybe you need a virtual assistant to help you with that. I want you to think about the things that you've got going on that you could actually delegate to relieve that mental pressure on yourself. And my friends, take the time to do it, because you are important. You matter too. And if everybody else is mattering above you, guess what happens? Then you're going to be consumed by all of their tasks and you're going to be cluttered down. And if you don't dump that junk, you're not going to be showing up as your best self. So my challenge to you is, let's become who we desire to be and invest in helping ourselves to get strong. Because guess what? If I am full, if I am fueled up, if I'm ready to go, then I can show up. But if I'm not fueled up, I can't show up. So let's get fueled up so we can show up. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you on the next broadcast.